Hey tribe, welcome back. In today's video, we're going to be doing RayTube practice question number 13, so stay tuned. Okay, so let's jump into it. A social worker meets with a father and his 12-year-old son due to an incident 2 weeks ago of his son experiencing his father having a seizure in the living room, which resulted in the son needing to call 911. The father states, although he seems to be handling it well and he says he's okay, I want to make sure he's not traumatized since it was a serious situation. What is the best way the social worker should intervene? Should the social worker A, provide the father with psychoeducation on symptoms of PTSD, B, refer the son to a psychiatrist for medication management since research shows that medication and therapy is effective in treating PTSD, C, son coping techniques to manage symptoms of PTSD, or D, begin therapy with the son to manage PTSD symptoms if they arise. So as always, pause the video, reread the question, reread through the answer choices, unpause the video, and then we'll jump into the explanation. Okay, so let's jump into it. If you picked A, you are correct. Why? So, A is correct because being exposed to a traumatic situation doesn't necessarily mean you will develop PTSD. Since his son is not experiencing symptoms of PTSD at this time, the best intervention is to help the father by providing psychoeducation about PTSD symptoms so the father knows what to look for if symptoms of PTSD arise. There is no need to provide therapy at this time since the son is not experiencing any PTSD symptoms. And when we look at B, refer the son to a psychiatrist for medication management since research shows that medication and therapy is effective in treating PTSD. This is incorrect. Why? Too much, too soon. Yes, it is true that medication and therapy are proven to be effective in managing symptoms of PTSD. However, the son isn't experiencing symptoms of PTSD. Let's flip it a bit. That's like saying, I know you are not depressed, but let's start you on antidepressants just in case you become depressed. Too much, too soon. And then when we scroll down to C, teach the son coping techniques to manage symptoms of PTSD. This is also incorrect. Why? Again, too much, too soon. It's been 2 weeks since the incident, and both the father and the son report that there's been no change in his ability to function as normal. Realistically, the father or the son would have noticed some type of change. Wait, Ray. Wait, Ray. How about if the son has been hiding how he truly feels? If the child had PTSD or symptoms of PTSD, that would be extremely hard for a 10-year-old and a concerned father paying extra attention to a son for the past 2 weeks to hide. Some symptoms of PTSD include nightmares, hard to hide, noticeable change in mood, hard to hide, decreased ADL, so activities of daily living, hard to hide, decreased interest in wanting to do things, hard to hide, and negative perspective on things, hard to hide, and etc. Because there's more criteria to it. But even that, right? You have a 10-year-old, right? And think about their cognitive functioning at that level, at that stage of being 10, for 2 weeks after this heavy situation, right? This potentially traumatic event. A 10-year-old having the mindset to say, let me hide it type of thing. If he did want it to hide it, that would be very tough given the symptoms. And again, a concerned father that's paying extra attention within those 2 weeks. If the father is saying and the son is saying, yeah, there hasn't been any changes for the last 2 weeks or anything like that, no symptoms of PTSD, then it's a good chance that the son doesn't have PTSD. And when we scroll down to D, begin therapy with the son to manage PTSD symptoms if they arise. Incorrect. Why? Again, too much, too soon. Being exposed to a traumatic situation, again, doesn't necessarily mean you will develop PTSD. Since his son is not experiencing symptoms of PTSD, therapy is not needed. Let's flip the script again. Self-esteem is important. right? I think we can all agree self-esteem is important. Should people who are turned down for a date go to therapy since being turned down can negatively impact your self-esteem? Think about that for a second. It is true. Hey, self-esteem is important. Just like that was a serious event that could be traumatizing. Fair. Since self-esteem is important, being turned down, that's not a great feeling. No one goes like, yes, I'm glad I got turned down or anything, right? And that can impact someone's self-esteem. Absolutely. So because these two things are true, should that person immediately go to therapy? I don't know about that. And the same thing with a traumatic event. I would say no. Why? Yes, getting turned down isn't a great experience. However, there are people that get turned down every day and handle it just fine. If the person is handling it, why would they go to therapy just because it happened? If they started to experience symptoms that were impacting their ability to function as a result, then yes. Wait, Ray, PTSD is different. Yes, PTSD is different. However, being exposed to a traumatic situation doesn't necessarily mean you will develop PTSD. If the son was experiencing symptoms that was impacting his ability to function, such as like the nightmares and decreased functioning as a whole, then yes, starting therapy to manage those symptoms would be appropriate. And I put right here, these are two questions that can help us when addressing the questions on the exam. The first one is, what is the topic or topics of this question? So I thought to put, you can change out topics with details. What are the details of this question? But I really want to focus on this, right? What is the topic or topics of this question? And two, what does this person / people need, right? And when it comes to age, I always say you want to identify the age of the client, because the outcome will change if we're working with a minor, adult, someone of senior age, right? Because different rules apply in certain circumstances. But for this situation, it will all be the same given the context. So this is how I like to break it up, right? What is the topic of the question or the topics? PTSD, a concerned parent, and a child that's not symptomatic. PTSD, a concerned parent, and a child that's not symptomatic. So we're looking at those three things, right? So check this out. What does this person / people need? PTSD, and I got this from right here. What does someone with PTSD need? A person with PTSD needs treatment. Okay. Next one, a concerned parent, right? In the middle right here, a concerned parent. What does a concerned parent need? Needs some form of direction / psychoeducation from the social worker. Okay, because again, they're a concerned parent. They're coming to someone saying, what should I do? Type of thing, right? And a child that's not symptomatic, right here, a child that's not symptomatic, nothing. Imagine going to your doctor and saying, hey, there's nothing wrong with me. Great. We will want to keep it going. Or let's say you're doing therapy or any services for that matter, and someone comes to that provider and say, hey, like I'm actually like doing fine. Cool. Keep it up. So when we address the topics, like the theme within this question, we're looking at PTSD, a concerned parent, and a child that's not symptomatic. What does this person that has PTSD need? They need treatment. The child doesn't have PTSD. Evidenced by, it's been 2 weeks. A concerned parent has been paying attention to their child for the last 2 weeks. And the child themselves is saying, like, no, I haven't really experienced anything. They're not seeing any of the symptoms. And again, the symptoms will be very hard to hide. Nightmares, decrease in functioning, a negative perception, negative thinking. And again, it's a 10-year-old. So that would be challenging for them to even have the awareness to that level to mask that if that stuff was going on, right? So a concerned parent, what do they need again? That direction, that psychoeducation from the social worker. And a child that's not symptomatic doesn't need anything. If it's an adult that's not symptomatic, not experiencing issues, they don't need anything. So now when we go back up to the top, again, we have a father. And I said 12-year-old. Yeah, I said 10-year. I got mixed up a bit. But, you have a son, a situation, father having a seizure, right? The son had to call 911. The father, the concerned parent, want to make sure that everything's okay, right? And in the midst of that, the father's like, okay, it's been 2 weeks. We haven't noticed anything, but just in case I'm taking extra precaution. Just want to make sure everything's okay, right? And what is the best thing for the social worker to do to intervene? If we educate the father on the symptoms of PTSD, now he knows what to look for if they arise. Because again, these other things, starting something that's not there isn't going to have benefit because it's not there. And when we use these two questions, really kind of break it down, it helps kind of put things into the proper context because it shows us what we're exactly working with and what we need to address. And again, if it's nothing, it's nothing type of thing. So hopefully these two questions help you guys. Okay, tribe, that's it for today's video. Just a quick practice question. And again, like I always say, 2 practice questions a day helps keep the exam anxiety at bay. It helps us keep us in the exam mindset, and we don't have to overwhelm ourselves with a million practice questions a day, doing at least 2. And then when we have more time, we can definitely ramp it up a bit. But again, doing at least 2 helps keep the exam anxiety at bay. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share with a social work friend because we don't want to be licensed by ourselves. All right, guys, I'll see you next video.